Hi friends, welcome back to the channel. If you are new here, my name is Yvonne and you are on Ginger Chick Rehab, where I love to take second-hand thrifted pre-loved items and share the process with you, my vision for making these items over. So in today's video, it is just that. We found some thrift store finds that we are going to get them new life and get them to be loved again. So what do you think of these little portable writing desk? I'm not really sure what they are called, but just a place to stash stuff, you know, a place to sit on something, and then you can put like mail and notepads and extra pens and pencils or even your keys in them. They're just super handy. So this one is a little bit outdated because it's a little bit on the shiny side, and so we are going to go ahead and get this made over. Get into a few of the treasures. Okay, well, they're not really treasures, paper clips taken out that were left behind. I have to sand it. So I'm using some 80 grit. And as I said, this is super shiny. It has a extreme top coat on it. So we are just going to go to town with the orbital sander and do as much as I can with the electric sander. So I definitely need to scuff sand this to get the paint to stick. And it has quite the layer of top coat on it. And I'll switch over to my mouse sander because it has that nice tip where I'm able to get into the corners. And there's actually a little bit of damage in the inside of this, but that's okay. We're just going to go ahead and sand it smooth, and paint will hide whatever was damaged. Doing the most that I could with the power sanders to save my wrist and my hand. There's always those areas you just can't get with power sanders, so I'm going in and hand sanding it. So now it's time to get this all cleaned up with some Dawn dish soap and some hot water. And I'm going to go ahead and leave the top on, paint it as is with the hinges on. The hinges are a little bit on that weak side where the metal is a little bit on the bendy, so I'm just going to leave them where they are. Then to help my paint stick on this, I'm going to use a couple coats of shellac as my primer. This really has good adhesion, especially since this was so super shiny. I tried to scuff sand as much as I possibly could, but this is going to even out that porosity where I got down to the natural wood, where there's some stain left, and maybe where there's some top coat left. I'm going to take something that was super new looking with that shiny top coat, and I'm going to make it look old. So I'm using milk paint in the birdie color. So the birdie color is like that robin's egg blue, I think. I love the name. Sometimes you just buy paint by the name. So milk paint is equal parts powder to equal parts liquid water. And then you mix it for 2 minutes, and then you sit it off to the side and let it thicken up for about 2 to 10 minutes. So the thinner you put on your paint, the faster it dries, the less you are having drips and runs. These brushes are so nice. But now that I've got 2 coats on the most that I could have possibly done with my first paint, I can close the lid, I can proceed on painting the top, and I will be painting the bottom of this too, just to tie it all in together. What do you think of the color? I think it is a lovely color. Now, the thing about milk paint is it gives a crackling, a crazing, and sometimes a chippiness depending on how you prep your item and how it gets soaked in. I didn't get any chippiness. I'm really learning that shellac product really helps it not just chip off. So I do get a lot of crackling and crazing going on. Now I'm just taking some 220 sandpaper, making sure that everything's nice and smooth. And I do want to distress some of the edges. I do want to have some of it look worn, like it's been used and it's been old. So I will hit those spots with the sander a little bit harder and a little bit heavier to get it to go down to the wood. Just by chance, that sandpaper fits right into this little crevice in between where the top is, and I'm able to sand where the paint kind of piled up there. I have the sanding dust out of the way. We are going to go ahead and we need to seal our milk paint in. And I like to mix a mixture of clear wax and the aging wax, because the aging wax really gets down into all that crackling and crazing and really pops it and really gives it that old-timey aged look. But first off, I'm going to start with the clear wax to seal the paint in that way that the aging, the browner wax, is not changing the color of the paint per se. So if you put it on without the clear, it will change your paint color a little bit and darken it and deepen it. With the clear on, it'll just kind of get right into those crevices and pop them. So you wax on and then you wax off, rub off the excess. Oh, would you look at the size of this decor bowl? How fun. So, Hunter Green's a little bit on the outdated side. Priced just right to be able to make it over. But unfortunately, I'm going to have to sand it. It's shiny. I can't guarantee that my paint is necessarily going to stick. So back to the orbital sander we go to try to scuff sand this piece. Okay, scuff sand washed. Now it is dry, and I'm going to do the same thing I did previous, so my paint will stick on really well without getting a lot of like chipping off. I hope, because I don't want you to see that green color underneath. So I'm sealing it in with a couple coats of shellac. Oh, are we ever going to brighten this bowl right up? Curry color. I love curry. So curry is like a mustardy color. Definitely that got that primitive vibe going on. Love, love this color. It's just fun. So same mixture, equal parts powder, equal parts water. Stir it for 2 minutes and set it off to the side. Let it thicken up a bit. So this is that point where you need to do your second coat and you're looking at all that beautiful crackling and crazy going, oh, but don't worry folks, because even with the second coat, it will still do that. So I find thin coats definitely work a lot better. You don't have to worry about paint buildup, it running especially off an object that's kind of like a hill. So yes, just apply it, get it on nice and thin, and that first coat will attract the second coat to stick to it. I really try not to like go over my paint too awful much, but oh, see how that second coat is just grabbing on. See, the second coat is dry. We have some beautiful crackling crazing, and now it's time to flip the bowl over and do the inside. So I feel like curry color might be one of those you either love it or you hate it, but I love it. It's just a fun pop of some bright color without being like bright in your face. Anyway, now we're going to go ahead with some 220 sandpaper, and I don't want to distress this piece because I don't want to see that green underneath, but I do want to make sure that everything's nice and smooth. So I'll just concentrate on the bowl part, not so much the edges, and stay clear of the edges so I'm not distressing it. And then what's really going to give this that primitive look is using some black wax, Fusion's black wax, straight on to the curry color, not sealed in with any clear wax. I'm just going in there. I want all that crackling and crazing just to show. I want to deepen up, then richen up. Look at how it's just richening up. Like the waxes really bring out the true color of the milk paint. I have a thing for these little shaker style nesting boxes, even though it's a single. It's just one. I love the detail in the front, and who doesn't love an extra space to store something in? Whew, but get the sticker off, and then we got to work on that super shiny to help the paint stick. Do you ever work with the color once and then you just fall in love with it? And sweet potato is that color. It is like a harvesty orange, not like in your face bright pumpkin orange, just a nice subtle orange color. Oh, so it's nice to do a bigger piece, which is the first thing I did with this color, was a furniture piece, not a large furniture piece, but now I've been looking for items to paint with this, and I thought this little shaker box would be super cute painted in sweet potato. The more that I've been working with milk paint, kind of teaching trial and error. I'm a trial and error kind of person, learning by, ooh, well, that didn't work. But I'm learning that prep on an item is key to get the milk paint to stick if you're just looking for the crackling and the crazing. But if you don't, like if I didn't want that and I wanted it to chip and have more of the space and showing underneath, so I probably wouldn't have shellacked it. I still would have prepped it by sanding it and cleaning it, but I probably would not have shellacked it to have it bond with the shellac. Sometimes when you get to that second coat of paint, your paint might be a little grabby, meaning that when you take the brush, it's just not sliding very easily, giving you that nice smooth paint. So I just take a mister bottle and just mist it ever so slightly, and that seems to work out. So I'm going to go ahead and sand this. Also, you never know, like if it hits the sharp edges, that's fine because there's not a color underneath. I'm not really looking for it to do that, but just like the little detailed areas here, it kind of did it on its own, and that is perfectly fine because that's the look I'm going for. I'm looking for that old-timey look, and this look in my retail booth has been selling extremely well. So it's just a personal taste. Everything's different, and everybody's area is a little bit different of what buyers are looking for. And if you do not know, my retail booth is in an antique mall. So I think people are looking for antiques and primitives. And so that is helping being able to do that old-timey look and kind of, I'm trying to master it. I don't know if you're ever a master of anything because as soon as you think you are, the products is like, yeah, look at what I just did to you today. So anyway, so now I'm taking some more of that black wax and we're really just deepening up the sweet potato. Oh, it's so pretty. This is one of those items you see in a thrift store and you're like, well, that's really cool. Look at the feet on this. And I can imagine decor, a cloche, if you can find the right size of cloche, just something to rise stuff up. That New Age galvanized, I am obsessed with making over with patina paint. So I am sorry if yet again, y'all that watch me all the time have to watch me do this, but I love it. And I'm attracted to metals because I can do that patina paint and making this look old and rusty and crusty. So we're going to start off with, it's got a strong top coat on it that I need to get sanded off. You'll find I am quite the creature of habit a lot, that a lot of my prep is the same over and over again. But to do the rusty crusty on top, I don't want to like have to do the bottom part, but I don't want you to see that New Age galvanized. So I'm just taking some enamel spray paint from Rust-Oleum in the flat white and just covering up that galvanized. Then with this being a flat surface, I thought it would be fun to see a lot of the colors of the rust come through. So I'm going to start off with the Prime Start, which is that nice ruddy color that is what, you know, the underlying of rust anyway. So this is the Dixie Belle's patina paint. This is their primer, but I kind of use it as an accent color. So I'm not looking for complete coverage. Rust doesn't have to be complete coverage. A lot of times rust isn't complete coverage. So yeah, I forgot my Lazy Susan. Oh, if you do not have a thrifted Lazy Susan and a board to turn your object on, that makes it so much easier to paint everything. Oh, so it comes in so handy, so you can just spin it instead of having to touch the paint and move it around. But yes, so I like to take a well-loved brush, and I'm just using a sensor brush from the Dollar Tree store, and I do a dabbing motion, just put it in the paint, dabbing motion on. Rust is not a flat surface, so the dabbing motion kind of makes little peaks, which makes it really look like that true rust. Now I'm going to be overlapping patinas, and I need this to be dry, so I'm just taking the heat gun and accelerating the dry time by adding some heat to it. Probably my favorite prep color is the iron paint. I love the red of Rusty Crusty. So now I'm taking a bigger brush, which is actually my waxing brush, because this is a lot of surface area to cover, especially with it being so flat. So just literally the same thing, dabbing motion, dab it into the paint, and then dab it on. And I tried to make sure, like, I go back and kind of look to see if it like smeared or made a brush stroke and try to tap that out. I have my patina paint all on there. I'm going to start using my sprays, which is the activator, which starts to change the color, the chemical reaction between the paint and the spray. So I have it on a mister, like it's just going to mist on the green patina all over the whole little riser. Then for some dimension, not just to be rusty crusty red, I like to add a little bit of the blue patina, and I have this just on the drizzle mode where I'm just like touching the nozzle just to have it drizzle out a little bit. In about 20-30 minutes, this is what it looked like, and I decided that I liked that yellow color. So I added little drops, just like I did with the blue, to the yellow. Didn't forget to film that, but this is what it turned out. So yes, if you ever wonder, do I need to seal it in? Yes, you need to seal it in or it'll come off on your hand. So I'm using some Weather Defense metal spray to seal this whole, this riser in. How fun is this piece? So I love when I come across these buckets in the thrift store because I get to paint them, because I know if I put them in my retail booth, they will just sit. So it's not like it's a true Firkin sugar bucket. I don't really know. Maybe they are sugar buckets, but just the way that they are made, it doesn't really attract a buyer. So this one is super shiny, has a lot of top coat on it. So I'm going to go ahead and start off getting it sanded. Always, to save my hand and my wrist, I do as much as I can with a power sander, but there's always those areas you kind of have to go back into, because since this is so super shiny, I know that the paint will have a hard time sticking, and the paint won't take evenly if I don't go back and do these little detailed areas. I am going for a dark, deep, rich blue. So I am using Fusion's Cambridge color. Oh, and if you noticed on this one, I did not shellac, because my finished look, I'm looking for the paint to be able to come off and be a little bit on the worn side. Fusion paint is great. Paint, primer, top coat, all in one. It's there. And if that's the look that you like, you can go ahead and leave it alone. But I don't like the shininess. I like my items to look a little bit older. And yet again, that is what sells well for me. So I'm taking some 220 sandpaper and I'm just sanding it down. I'm taking that shiny off. And you can tell that paint is on there. It doesn't necessarily want to leave by any means, but with a little bit of will and a way of, hand sanding it, I'm getting it to distress. That's why I did not definitely need any of that shellac to bond it. So now that I kind of made it look rough and distressed, I need to go back in and wax it, bring this paint back to life. Sanding it kind of dulls it out, which is what I wanted it to do, and then distress it. And this is really going to deepen up this Cambridge color and really give it that primitive look that I'm going for. Black wax. So straight on black wax right on top of this. And even though it has that top coat on it, I sanded it, I opened that top coat back off, and look at how it just brings out. Oh my gosh, it's just gorgeous. I love to play with dark waxes so much. So what are these decapitated items? I don't know. I was super excited when I found these in a thrift store because this is a hot seller for me. One of the items I make over a lot. Yes, it is a pair of swans, wooded swans. Though they have quite the paint job on the back, which is a personal preference, but not the look that I'm going for. So I'm going to go ahead and I have to sand it. And actually, you would think they were carved. Nope, they are new purchase goods. So I'm going to start off with taking the tag off. Please don't ever paint over a tag. We all have our pet peeves, and tags, painting over tags is one of mine. So get this removed, and then yes, we're going to have to sand the flower off because it is raised and bumpy. It was probably an add-on after the person purchased it. I am making the executive decision to glue the head and the neck onto these swans, especially if I'm going to be a reseller of them. I don't want them to be like falling off in my retail booth. I know if I was shipping them, it would probably be easier to ship them, but as a person who has a set of swans, that the heads were not attached. And if you have kitty cats who like to climb on everything, the next thing you know, the heads are always somehow knocked off, or even when you go to dust, the heads will fall off. So that is the thing. I'm just going to take some Titebond quick and thick glue and glue these and adhere them on permanently. For that glue set up, I decided to angle the heads just a little bit so they were looking outward. Kind of had to envision how they would be sitting on a shelf looking at somebody. So, yep, just getting them cleaned up now. I would kind of like these to be chippy and some of the paint chip off, but because I could not get all that paint color off, it soaked into the wood. To prevent that from bleeding through my paint job, I need to seal it in with some shellac. And there's just something about white swans. It's classic. They sell well, very well. So if you could hear me when I see them out in a thrift store, I feel like I'm stealing $1 million from a bank or something. Like, cannot wait to get them into my cart. Anyway, so yes, I'm going to go ahead and do Sweet Pickins Flower Sack because I really like to get them an old-timey, chippy, aged look. Swans have some beautiful glass eyes, and I love the patina of the age of the beak already, so I'm just going to protect that with some Vaseline. Yep, just plain old Vaseline, and if I get paint on it, it should just wipe off at the end. When I go to paint an object, I want to do my most difficult areas first, so underneath the head, the neck, any of that area that's hard to get to if I've painted the top of it already and I have to like flip my head on, do a cartwheel just to paint it. I just wanted to get that area painted first. I'm sure a lot of you thought I was not going to paint the bottom of these, but yes, I didn't paint it because I wanted to be able to set it back down after I got the most of the body done. So now I'll go back in and paint that bottom. It was really hard to make a crisp line. The paint job on the bottom is kind of iffy anyway, so just freshen it up. There's just something about a white swan. Now with the swan, I'm not going to take any sandpaper to it. There are a few spots that were chipping off, and then if I sand it, that might like take off that chip and like might show some of the paint, which would be okay here and there, but I think just waxing it. So I'm going to wax it with some clear wax first to seal in that white milk paint, and then I'll go back in with my darker wax. So you can see where it's chipping off. Even the wax brush is taking the chips off, and they seem to be more at the bottom, and maybe when I sprayed it, I didn't necessarily spray the bottom with the shellac. So there you go. That's probably why it is chipping off, because I didn't lift it and spray that bottom. Now to bring out the crackle and the crazing, we're going in with some aging wax, which is more of a brown than a black. But what this will do, it will get into all those little crevices and just make them pop. But since I pre-waxed with some clear, I'm not going to be making my white swan brown. So there's the little, if I would have done it, the browns, aging wax on white, it would turn it into a cream. But oh, look at how it pops those. Just giving it that nice distressed aged look just with waxes. So thank you so much for watching today's video, and let me know down in the comments below which of the items I made over today were your favorites, and have I inspired you to go out and about looking for those types of treasures that sometimes people just, you have to see past what they are and just give them a little bit of new life. So let me know if I have inspired you in any way. So thanks again for watching today's video. And as always, if you're part of our YouTube family, thank you so much. And if you are new and you're checking out this channel for the first time and you liked what you saw, please hit that subscription button along with the notification bell so you know when we've uploaded a new video. And we will see you next time, guys, and you can see what I'm up to. Bye. Why my eyes flipped, because the Adventures of Tater. Hello, Tater. What are you doing all the way up there in the pantry? Hello? Why are you up there? Oh, kitty cats, what do you do?